Welcome to All Aboard with Ned.
I was pissing myself.
Adam, massive warehouse, and LK.
I don't know what we're gonna do. It is what it is. All right. So what are we doing here? Good evening. We are recording on July 9th, Thursday, on an epic day, right? I think this is one of the best things I've seen from Kirk so far. What's your guys' opinion about
Go ahead, Adam.
the video on YouTube?
You know, I was watching it, and I was dropping my kids off at camp, and I got to camp early because I saw Kirk's tweet. So I dropped them off. You're supposed to drop them off at 9. I dropped them off at 8:55. Was the first one in line.
What a model dad.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Told my wife that I had a work call from 9 to 9:30, and I was going to take from a parking lot nearby. Parked the car around the corner and just sat there, and I was in tears laughing the whole time. It was Kirk at his best, just dramatic, hysterical, over the top, everything that you want out of Kirk, but you know that all of that is bundled up in just pure, raw honesty. And that's what that's why that's why we're attracted to him.
And I missed the tweet. I saw the notification later, well after the fact, after I'd already heard on the show. So I heard it on the show. Then later on this afternoon, I watched it. But the best line of the whole thing was, I think he's relating the discussion with Callahan, and they said they have no idea how petty you are and how you will never let this go. He goes, "Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. 80 years old, he'll still be doing this." It was great. It was terrific.
And to me, what impressed me was the production, right? All the candles and the flower, and even the CGI around. So it looks like they keep beating themselves in terms of getting better and better. Like the Cullen episode was like a huge audio production. This was kind of it's not end of the world, but was a very nice thought, production there. They spent time, thinking of it. Even though it's just candles, but just the thought of them, going the extra mile to make it better scenery, I appreciate.
And to me, it's really reflective of the growth, I think, of Steve. I think that Kirk has said before that probably Steve's biggest what he does worst is actual production. That all the behind the scenes and creative, that's where he thrives. But he has grown so much that. First there was the Cullen episode, like you said. Now this. I think we're seeing the evolution, and I think just his growth and Kirk's creative genius is just such a perfect pairing.
Well, also the fact too that he donated all those candles from his bedroom.
Yes,
that was so. And I looked at them; those are Catholic. Yeah. Those are Catholic candles. So it's like those are like the ones your grandmother would buy, on the way out of mass. So I recognize those candles. I'm like. Wow, they really pulled out the stops here.
Yeah.
Well, did they take them from the church next door?
Probably.
So, are you saying those are not the candles that you drip on people's back for those kinky sex stuff?
No, I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so.
How about the content? It sounded to me Kirk was very honest on his opinions of what was going on. It wasn't fake. He literally hate everyone. He was expressing that hate. And what do you guys think about that? The unfiltered hate?
Well, what I liked about it is the hate came from a spot of joy. I think if the ratings were through the roof and they did really well, or not as bad as this, he might have been more cynical, and it would have been. We've heard that kind of before, where he's right. I don't disagree. But this came from pure joy, and he still buried them in hate.
Yep.
So I did it was glee. It was gleeful hate, So
yeah. And again, I just go back to what I was saying before about just the pure honesty from him. This was years of just frustration while there, frustration after, frustration, just so much bubbled up. He said it himself when he said that, once again, they weaponized his mental health against him. He will never get past that, and I think that's fair. I mean, I completely understand why he hates them, and we'll talk about that more of that later. But I mean, it is true and it is honest, and while it might be over dramatized for the show, it is just that raw hatred is something you can't make up.
Right. Yep. Anytime that with the list of the big enemies, anytime that he can stick a fork in them or just jab them, I'm thrilled. I don't care if I've heard it a million times. I don't give a shit. Yep. It still never should have happened. And the fact too that the coalition that was against him is still out there, and they're still silencing him. That prick dickless Chad Finn won't write a goddamn thing about it now, even though he's blocked all of us, right? He blocked me.
Yeah, he's a pussy.
He is such a pussy.
Dale blocked me too today.
Yeah, Dale's blocked me.
I didn't even
Jerry's
blocked me. Jerry blocked you?
Oh,
well, you don't like Jerry.
I hate him. Jesus.
Him, yeah.
Oh,
but I hate him for the same reason I hate the others. They're frauds.
Yep.
They're frauds.
Yep. And that's the difference. That's why Kirk succeeds. Yep. And they at best get to be quote unquote middle management.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing, right?
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say that's the funny thing that people keep waiting for Kirk to be wrong, right?
Right.
Oh, we're gonna succeed.
Kirk was right.
The ratings are gonna go up, and the more he talks about, the more it happens. It may take a while, but it happens.
Yeah.
And I remember listening to today's episode, and he was like, before me, the ratings were not good. When I was there, it was great, and when I left, it went back to the to be bad again. So he's right, and he has all the motives and the reasons to celebrate.
My question though is when he did the brief video on what was it? Day before yesterday. Okay. And then he said, I want to get canceled WEI, trending on Twitter. I mean, really, how many of there are us that were able to get that done?
Well, he said that in that what they get about 100,000 per episode.
Yeah. And he said June was the best month. Right. So I'm thinking,
and he was gone for half of it, right?
And he was gone for the last half of it, right?
Right. Like he was gone for at least the last week. I don't remember the exact dates, but he was gone for at least the last week.
Yep.
I mean, that's crazy. And on top of that, I just want to also point out though, this is where me also having been a Barstool fan for a while comes into play. The similarities between Kirk and Dave just will never cease to amaze me. I mean, how Dave has engraved bottles of champagne with his enemies' names on it sitting in his office to pop on the days that they get canceled. Yep. I mean, Kirk would do the same exact thing. This is the exact same way and this is why they butt heads all the time, because they are the same person.
But they trust themselves, right? Yep. And when you trust yourself, you need to celebrate when people just shit on you all the time. Correct. Which leads me to my next topic, which is, have you experienced something similar, at your current work or previous work?
Why don't you go first? You want me to go first? All right.
Yeah.
I'll go first. I'm gonna go with the one that's safe for publication. In 2012, I started a new job I got hired at the end of August to start in the beginning of September. Ned, what happens in my life in September usually?
Oh yeah, the two big holidays.
Two big holidays, except that I also have a few others in there also that I celebrate. So I had to take off about
Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah are in September,
and then
right?
Sukkot also. Sukkot, and then that leads to Simchat Torah. That was weird to say that way. Simchas Torah.
Simchas Torah.
Oh yeah, exactly. And so I had to take off about 6 or 7 days within my first month there, and I was hired.
Wait a minute, Adam. I don't mean to interrupt.
Yeah.
I think it's pronounced. I think down here when I go to the deli, it's pronounced Sukkos.
Sukkos, yeah. Okay. I was saying it in the more the way I would normally say it is Sukkos and Simchas Torah. Yeah.
Sorry,
Jewish lesson.
So
I had to take off a lot of days, and I was hired by this agency to help support the launch of their biggest client's brand new product. Now, I don't need to say what the product was, but let's just say it rhymed with Lindo's Mate. And you can laugh because it was so bad. So on the launch, so then in October, it was all the build up to the launch. And one of the things we did was we rented out this massive warehouse on the docks in the piers in New York City. We built this whole replica of New York City where there were different laptops and companies in different parts of the city, and it was celebrities, and it was planned to go for 10 days. On Thursday, October 25th, 2012, was the big opening party. On Saturday, October 29th, 2012, Sandy flooded the entire place.
That's right.
Oh, shit.
That's
So
right.
that, plus how bad that product was, really crushed that launch. Now, as if that's not bad enough, in November, I had my oldest son. So I took off a few weeks then for that. Push comes to shove, they're losing money on this client's account. The client pulls back.
So what's the rhyme again? What's the rhyme again?
Lindo's mate. Lindo's mate, not to be confused with Lindo's Mista or Lindo's men. And so I ended up exactly. So bottom line is I ended up getting laid off in the first week of January with a 6-week-old, and I remember just feeling I was so angry and so mad, and I just hated them. And they said that, listen, you've taken off a lot of time since you've been here. It's just we don't have a need for you anymore, whatever it is. And so I remember in the middle, they're like, do you have any questions? And I just look at them, and this is my boss and the head of HR. And I go, yeah, do you have any advice on what to tell a wife and a 6-week-old that, they're not going to have money on the table anymore?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was that's a company that I always keep monitoring. I always watch, and I will always hate and can't wait. I've watched certain people that were involved in that not advance in their career, and I've gone farther than they have already, and it's a fun thing to watch.
Interesting.
I can't.
And that's my safer publication one that did not involve any federal investigations. We can talk about that one another time.
Oh wow.
I can't say I have anything similar to Kirk, but I have the only one I can kind of put to it, compare it to but it was my fault, and the way I felt for years afterwards, it was really my immaturity. But I was fired appropriately when I was 1988, newborn as well. My own fault. I just had a meltdown at work. Actually, it was much like Kirk, but it was really bad, inappropriate, and I was asked to leave. But I was so pissed off because what led up to the meltdown I thought was totally preventable. But I think it was 24, 25. I had just been married, just had my first kid, so didn't handle it very well. And for I want to say 10 years afterwards, that was like the motivator. I'll show them. Yep. And that company ended up being purchased by a larger company, and all those people were let go. So in a way, did I get my just desserts? Yes, but not really. I wasn't unjustly. It wasn't like Kirk. Kirk was totally fucked. He was screwed over. And yes. There was a whole, as I said before, there was a whole cabal working against him in the Boston area. So it was just a matter of time, actually, with him. But what's the expression? If revenge is best if you wait long enough, the bodies of your enemies will float past you. And that's exactly that's what he's seeing now. And it's going to be even worse when EEI or when Intercom has to do something with EEI. They can't continue this because he's right. Kirk's right. They must be losing millions. Millions. Intercom overall, and on EEI is a bleeder. And it could have all been avoided. They should have went for the Patriots. They should have dropped the Red Sox. And this was, I'm talking 5 years ago. They should have, because the Patriot organization, if you ever listen to 98.5, which I used to, I don't anymore. They don't give a shit if they shit on the Patriots. They were saying, Adam, during Deflategate, they were saying that Brady deflated the footballs himself because Belichick told him to do it. And nobody challenged them. And nobody said, what the hell are you talking about? But
Ned,
Kirk,
you went from here to here. Like we were talking about you, and you went back to Kirk.
Sorry, but yeah, that was it. Yes, sorry.
That's okay.
This out. Mark the time. 16.
No, it's fine. No, I like it.
Well, can I actually interject with a funny story? And by the way, it goes to that. Robert Kraft, right? So he goes to a temple in Newton, Massachusetts, Temple Emmanuel, and he so his when Myra passed, they had the funeral and the Shiva. The funeral was there rather.
Was the masseuse there?
No, she
Probably
wasn't there. She's not far from you, actually.
There you go.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
When they when Spygate happened, and I know this because of all the Jewish world. Robert Kraft used to always say the Haftorah on Yom Kippur at that temple, and the rabbi gets up, and for those who don't know, Yom Kippur rabbi speeches, I mean, that's the Super Bowl. That's their big day. That's the hellfire and brimstone. That's it. And so the rabbi, as rabbis often tend to do, take current events and tie it together with their speech, and talked about honesty and cheating and connected it to Spygate. And Bob Kraft stood up and walked out. But in spite of that, though, and this is where the difference between Bob Kraft and John Henry or anyone else is that, he still is a member of the synagogue. He still goes there. He still, had his wife's funeral there. I mean, he still donates there. And that to me has always struck me because I know that Kirk says it all the time also about, the difference between the Krafts and the Henry. So it just, you reminded me when you were going on that tangent there, Ned, but let's jump back to LK, and I want to hear about your work experience from when you were 14 and running a $40 billion company. So suck on that, DK.
So DK is fine. He's been quiet lately, but he
has.
So I've been fortunate. Like my past 4 employers were big companies, like multinational. Can't complain. But beginning of my career, when I was about 16, back in 1999. One of my first jobs, I was like managing a network for a cell phone company. So they not cell phone. They used to sell phones and also fix it.
Yep.
But like back home, they were huge. So this huge store that had the break and fix area, the new phones area, and I was managing the whole network with minimum investment. So it was just myself. I was getting paid almost nothing. I had to manage 150 computers, and the thing is, like, they would always require a lot from me. Like this network cannot go down. If it goes down, we cannot sell. And all that pressure. But they would never invest on anything. So it was I think the mental abuse. Hey, you're not doing your job correctly. We are not investing. You need to figure it out with the resources that you have. And like sometimes everything would just go down. The system would go down. It was a whole stress. And I was 16. I was like, hey, you guys need to invest here and there. Like, I need help. And they would just always undermine me. Like, hey, you don't know what you're talking about. Let's call the consultant that does the system. Let's see what they say. So it was this constant back and forth. And just one day I just like exploded. After a meeting, it's like, you know what? I don't deserve this anymore. I'm walking out. I actually went to my mom and said, hey, I know that I'm contributing, like paying bills at home, but I'm walking out of this job. I may be without a job for a while. She's like, I support you 100% because if you're not happy, don't just stay there because of the money. We'll figure something out. And I was blessed that a week after I gave my notice, I was able to get another job. And then from there, sky was the limit, and it's still the limit. But the point is, I always kept an eye on them as well, like you guys said.
Yep.
And they obviously went bankrupt after 10 years or something. But that constant abuse always stayed on the back of my mind, and I always try to be as nice as possible to anyone. Right, because regardless if you're in the beginning of your career, in the middle, or at the end, you always have a problem, right? You always might be on a bad day or understaffed on your department, and it's not fair for other people to go and just demand things that are not your responsibility.
I'm just shocked to hear that it was an abusive environment when they rely solely on child labor. I always thought the child labor camps were really peaceful and nice.
Well, back home, 15 is the legal age to work.
Yeah.
But like as everyone, like I was always precautious. I was like, while my friends were going out and clubbing, I was working. Like.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen, in China, it's also third. What I think 4 or 5 is when the legal age to work. So you're good. You're good.
Yeah.
Well, it's totally different, but yes, I know where you're going with.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yep.
I
to sell the joke.
Yeah. Try again. No, I mean, you can compare easily. I don't want people to feel bad enough.
I know.
No, but there's a big difference though between like my in my case and your both case and in Kirk's case, the separation wasn't really justified. There were mitigating circumstances. Bad decisions were made. In mine, no, it was a good decision, and no, it should have happened. So I really can't have that. My reaction though was a lot like Kirk's. Like, I was happy when I heard the woman fired me, ended up getting fired like months later. That's happened again too, but although that was like a separation where my role became redundant, and the guy, my boss at the time, and this is when I was living in Maine, my boss at the time was an asshole, a real Napoleon complex, little guy, pissed off at the world.
Little guy, Australia?
He wasn't Australia. No. But
okay,
and I were on the same page there.
He would always say like, well, we're paying you too much money. And I'm like, first of all, you hired me, you told me the salary, and I'm making the money. And I'm covering.
I hate that.
I hate covering not only my costs, but I'm also turning a profit for the 3 stations that you put me responsible for. So he finally got an excuse to make me redundant, which is bullshit. A fucking week later, he got fired for doctoring drug test records for new employees.
Awesome.
So if he liked you, Adam in New Jersey, and you go, hey, go to this LabCorp.
Yep.
Take the drug test. He got the results, and if he liked you and thought this guy would be really good, but shit, he failed marijuana.
Yep.
Goes, okay, he would literally white it out and fix it, and they caught him. Amazing. And it was a week later. So, that was the only time I could think of that.
That happens a lot, right? Yes. And I've experienced that, like managers just fucking with employees, come to find out 2 months later they got fired because they were the fuck ups.
Yep. Assholes will always get what's coming to them. But so let's not necessarily dox ourselves here, I guess. But if you weren't doing what you do now, what would your dream profession be? LK, why don't you go first?
Yeah, that's a funny story. So I started college. My bachelor's on computer science. I absolutely hated it. I did 1 year and I stopped, and I was like, maybe, computers are not for me. I'm going to go for math. So I started applying for colleges. Like I wanted to be a math major, and I couldn't make it on anyone. I was like, maybe I like law. So like law was something that I really wanted. I wanted to be a lawyer, and I thought I would be great at it. And in between that time where I decided to apply for law schools, back home, the government approved the associate's degree, 2 years. And I was already working with computers. And I was like, 5 years in law school or 2 years? I was like, so I decided to go the computer route and all that. But like, I'm a frustrated lawyer. I watch like movies and series about lawyers, and it just amazes me. It brings me joy.
But that it's not actually like that, though, right? Like it's not actually.
I know.
Because I actually went to law. I actually went to law school. Right. I was originally going to be the stereotype and be a lawyer. I moved to New York. I went to law school, and it was so boring.
It's tough, right?
Awful. It was just the worst experience. I was miserable. I was 23, single. My parents supported me to be able to, take a sabbatical year and go and, see if there's something else I like. And I found, my career in communications, and I love it. And I don't regret dropping out of law school. But yeah, I mean, it's nowhere near that. But it's funny though, because my choice for what I would do would be that I wish I learned, because I love computers. I'm very interested in that and coding and everything. And I work with tech companies. And I wish that I went that route and didn't just give up because I don't do math. So I wish that I did more of the computer sciences and that I went down that path. Ned, what about you?
Well, when I was about the age of both of you guys, I'd always wanted to. I always wanted to teach, but at a college level, not high school level. So one of the things I started to do when I was about your age was I started going back for master's classes at night, like not an executive MBA program, but just a master's program at night. And there's a lot of local schools that offer these down here. And then things at work happened, and I made a very risky decision. That's when we moved to Maine, right? So the idea was buy my own business. I'm my own boss, and I could still take courses at night and then teach at USM, University of Southern Maine in Portland. Not as tenured, but just to go in and teach logistics classes, history classes, things that I'm qualified to teach, even on a substitute type basis, and then maybe do that more full time. And then in my 60s, I could be, just do that till I die, right? Until your brain becomes mush, because it wouldn't take a lot of physical work. But that fell through because the business ended up being 24/7. So that all happened. So the idea when I was your age was, I'd like to be a college professor. Of course, that now looking back, that was pretty stupid because it would have been terrible. I'd be brainwashing or de-brainwashing kids. I'd look at it the other way.
There you go.
But then the other one, when I was around your age and in even a little younger, I wouldn't want to do it now. But at the time, the ideal job would be to own a AA baseball team and just go to the park every day. You're with the young players and your office is there at the ballpark. You're not paying guys a lot of money.
So you want to go to the locker room with the young players? That what
no. No, but you have
hire Stephen Murphy.
I wish you guys you might not. You're not going to have time. DEC the trainer. Oh, that's terrible. I'm sorry, DEC. It was low hanging fruit.
That's the way he likes it.
I know, Adam, you're not going, but okay, if you get time, and I don't think you'll have time either, but Hadlock Field is in Portland. It's the Sea Dogs. It's the Red Sox AA baseball.
It's
awesome.
My summer camp took us there every
seats.
Summer.
Yeah.
Every summer for the July 4th fireworks and game there. We used to always go see the Sea Dogs.
So Ned,
but the good thing about a AA team is your starters from the big team, they come down there and rehab. So when David Ortiz, when he was injured, and I think it was 2006 or 7, he was there for a month, and playing. And we saw all the players that are, Dustin Pedroia, all these guys, Jacoby Ellsbury, all these guys that end up going up to the majors were in Portland for at least a season. And it was great to see them.
That's cool.
Anthony Ramirez, it was good.
Quick question, if you want to answer or not, but what's your degree? What'd you go to school for?
Well, I ended up finishing my degree, not what I started with professional aviation. But that's not what I started out. That's not what I started out to do. That was the quickest degree I could get once I started working.
Interesting.
I made the terrible mistake of I had a partial football and baseball and academic scholarship my freshman year. They dropped the football program. So they pulled the scholarship for football. I couldn't make up enough money or get a loan enough it was a private Catholic school. And I couldn't make up the difference to stay at the school, even with the other. Also, I didn't maintain the grades to keep the academic scholarship. So then I went to a junior college and transitioned. Then I went to another school in Tennessee for about a year. And that was a lot of fun. But again, I ran out of money. And then went back to University of South Florida and Tampa with my wife before we were married. And then found a job where it was like, you know what? I'm making more money than I'd make if I wanted to get my degree. So I ended up just postponing the degree for about 5 or 10 years. Actually, 10 years. Yeah.
My dad almost got engaged before he met my mom to a non-Jewish woman, and my grandmother flipped out. Exactly. My grandmother flipped out. And so my dad moved he grew up in Chicago, and he moved as far as he could. And for college went to USF and then started his college there. And then he's a lot smarter than I am. So he ended up transferring over to MIT, where he then ended up meeting my mom and blah, blah, blah. But to answer your question, LK, that you asked Ned, but I'll answer it for me also, is I went to Michigan and I majored in English. and with 2 concentrations, and that's creative writing and Shakespeare. And I actually do think I use my degree very often. Yeah. And
so I'm the dumbest of the 3.
The Shakespeare concentration is because I'm a fan of Shakespeare, but also because the head of the English department is a consultant for the Royal Shakespeare Company. So he would go there every summer. And when Patrick Stewart was starring as King Lear in the Royal Shakespeare Company, they flew all out to Michigan and they had a residency there. So they used to come to our classes, and it was awesome. Yeah.
Cool. I mean, that's, and then hang on though, because that's a good jump.
It's fine.
Because I don't have many pet peeves about Kirk, but when he said, like, what was it, about a month ago, he and Steve got into a fight about poetry.
Yeah. Do
you guys remember that episode?
Yep.
I think it was in early June or late May.
Yep.
And while Steve has his foibles, he's like super smart on a very narrow field of subjects, right? Other things he's dumb as a rock. But one of the things I kind of like is, I mean, I'm not a big poetry fan. I mean, I like some poets, but others are pretentious assholes. But I fucking love Shakespeare.
Yep.
And Kirk's like, Shakespeare. And it was like, he just ripped all over Shakespeare. I'm going, what's that number to call in? But I know he'll live by called in, right?
Yep.
But no, I have the about, I want to say every 5 years I have the complete works of Shakespeare's, the sonnets, the plays, and the poems. And it's about it's a tome, literally.
Yeah.
It has the old style with the ribbon to keep your place. And every 5 years I'll just read through the whole thing, and it'll take me probably 6 months to get through the whole thing. I love it. I love Shakespeare.
You're very patient. I don't have the patience to do that.
Well, remember when you were a kid? Did you ever see any of those Kenneth Branagh movies where he did all those Shakespeare adaptations for movies? Oh, he did a lot of like Henry V. He did
Othello,
Much Ado About Nothing.
Yep.
Even Mel Gibson did Hamlet as well. And did an excellent version.
Was that the one that like Leo did Romeo and Juliet?
That wasn't Kenneth Branagh though. That was also good too. Right. They did Romeo and Juliet set in L.A. in modern times. Yeah, very good. It was excellent.
Yep.
But no, I'm a big Shakespeare fan.
Like it.
Cool. Well, by the way, I have a dual major.
Let's hear it.
Business administration. I just want to say that. BA and IS, dual major.
Yeah, but LK, you got the math. I went all the way up to like calculus 2 in college, and then realized, what am I taking calculus 2 for? I don't need it.
Oh, but that's the cool thing about information science, that it's more on the like infrastructure than calculus and programming. So that's
but you were going to be a math major.
The way
right. That's it.
That's why.
And at the time too, if you remember, I don't know if you had to do it back home, okay, but to really understand either physics or calculus, you had to take them at the same time because they are related. You couldn't do physics without knowing the calculus. So it was
So my first years of computer science, I did calculus 1 and 2, and I was like, that's it. All right, let's wrap it up. Justin is kind of one goes deep. So all right, let's wrap it up. This plans for the weekend.
I hope to see you.
Ned.
I got to see.
So
we got to get together.
Hopefully, to get some drinks together. Maybe your wife will like me now that Will is not here.
Oh, come on! His wife is gonna like. His wife is gonna like your wife way more. We all know that. It's
sure, absolutely. Right. Yeah, no, my wife is all over like, when are we gonna meet Ned? When am I gonna meet Ned?
Well, we'll do it this weekend, like Saturday. My wife's taking her concealed weapons training course tomorrow night. So let's do it. Let's do something Saturday in Delray. We'll meet like because you're very close to Delray Beach, right?
Yeah, I'm very close. Yeah.
So we'll do that. I don't know what's open.
So my plan is seeing Ned.
Yeah, that's a hell of a plan. It's better than mine.
Awesome.
Mine is I'm just another weekend at home. Sabbath tomorrow. We're supposed to get a tropical storm here. So
yes, you are.
It's gonna suck. Yeah.
So what's the deal, Adam? Like you couldn't make the Sunday. You couldn't make the Sunday show.
Sunday, the big issue is just that it's just. I can't just get up and go and leave my wife for the day. Plus, I coach my kids' baseball team, and it's hard for me to pull that out. So
no, weekends are always going to be tough for Adam.
Yeah. It actually would be easier for me to be able to go somewhere for an entire weekend than it would just to drive up and down for the day.
Yeah, so I'll make Miss LK make a sign of you like we did for Blind Mike.
There
I'll
you
bring
go.
you with me.
Awesome. That would be awesome.
So wait, Adam.
Yes.
If you got to Maine before sundown Friday
Mhm.
and observed
I told him to do that.
Saturday,
Yes.
you could go Sunday and drive home Sunday.
Hypothetically, yes, I could hypothetically do that. I think at this point it's probably too late, but hypothetically I could.
I told him that like 2 months ago. He didn't want to do it.
I'll go to the Wilbur.
Yeah.
I have tickets to the Wilbur.
Fine.
You know, this one.
Hey, you didn't sell your ticket.
You know what? I'm just thinking. I'm trying to figure this out because my house is not Orthodox in Maine. My dad's there, and he's kind of anti-Semitic, so I got to be careful of that. But I'd be like, you could have stayed with me. You could have brought the whole family and stayed. 4 bedrooms, only one dishwasher though. So
that's fine. Listen, I think
we have separate plates.
I've made do with worse.
My deceased mother in a beach bungalow has like 4 sets of 12 plates. Like, who the hell are we going to be feeding here? 48 people are not going to fit into this house. But yeah, she has tons of plates, so she could have easily accommodated you. But that's All
right.
Now he's gonna be up there.
We're running out of topics. Nobody wants to
we'll
hear
make
about
it
this
work.
shit.
Yeah, okay, wrap it up. Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you very much.
Shower and has been vacuuming.
Yeah, ignore it, Justin.
Effective time.
Thank you, Justin.
All right.
Thanks,
All right, guys. Talk to you later.
Talk to you later.